Good morning, everyone. How are you all doing on a nice September day? You can't have a better day than a 70-degree day in Falmouth, Massachusetts, with the sun coming through the clouds, with all our friends sitting here today for a very special occasion. So we're here today for a dedication for the grand opening of the Upper Coonamessett River Restoration. I'm glad you all can make it. And before we get started, I just want to make sure there are some folks in the audience. I want to make sure I capture all the folks. If I don't, I apologize. But with us today, we have our Select Board member, Jack Richardson, Town Manager, Michael Renshaw, Assistant Town Manager, Peter Johnson-Staub, our state representatives, David Vieira and Thomas Moakley, our Wampanoag Tribal Council member, David Whedon, Acting U.S. Director of U.S. Fish and Wildlife, Sharon Marino. From our Commissioner of Fish and Game, we have Tom O'Shea. Director of the Mass Division of Ecological Restoration, Beth Lambert. Executive Director of the APCC, Andrew Gottlieb. And we have our President of the Coonamessett River Trust, Wendy Busela. A lot of the folks you're going to hear speak today, but to get things started, I'd like to have a few words and bring up our Select Board member, Jack Richardson.
Good morning. Thank you for coming to Falmouth. A lot of members of the community here. As you can tell through the amount of people you just had to clap for, this project is the example of collaboration and what good government is. And when I tell my friends, when they ask me what it's like to grow up on Cape Cod, I say it's the community. And this project is another example of that here in Falmouth. Sure. It was only a few months ago we did the ribbon cutting and the naming of Dr. Gladfelter at the Overlook. And it's the way the community has, through the process, and the town and the state supported this project, it really should be a blueprint for going forward. As we enter tumultuous times, federally, when it comes to resources like this, it's incredibly important to show events like this, why things like this happen, and to continue to support our most precious resource, the environment here on Cape Cod. And then there's a lot more qualified speakers after me, so I'll be brief, but I also represent Senator Dylan Fernandez. We just have a citation from the Senate just to recognize this day. To the Upper Coonamessett River Restoration State, in recognition of the ribbon cutting ceremony to celebrate environmental stewardship and community-led conservation, and be it further known that the Massachusetts Senate extends its best wishes for continued success, that this citation be only signed by the President of the Senate and tested a copy, blah, blah, blah. By Senate President Karen E. Spilka, Clerk of the Senate Michael D. Hurley, and Senator Dylan A. Fernandez. So a little citation for the site. Thank you.
At this time, we would like to bring up Betsy Gladfelter. Where's Betsy? Here she is. Betsy, we did the lower, we did the middle, and now we're working on the upper. And so from your hard work and going through the grants. So.
And lots of help from you, Peter.
So welcome.
Peter's one of the people who started this project. He did some of the surveying early on. Good morning. It is a beautiful day to celebrate what we have collectively achieved on the Coonamessett, but also to recognize that we need to work hard and together to maintain the momentum of caring for and improving our environment. Thank you all for joining us. The projects at the Coonamessett could not have been done without the support of our elected officials, our federal and state funders, our town, including administration and employees, the Mashpee Wampanoag tribe, our federal and state agency personnel, our local and regional NGOs, our contractor, our local businesses and institutions, and many others of you who have volunteered your time and expertise in a myriad of ways. I want to thank my running friends who helped parking up in the Upper River, and also the Jewish Congregational Center, who generously allowed us to use that spot. This is the 6th celebration we've had on the Coonamessett. 2 groundbreakings, 2 ribbon cuttings, a combined ribbon cutting and groundbreaking, and a visit from Governor Polito. This is the first of such meetings that's had spectacular weather. Peter asked me if I wanted a rain date. I said, nope, we're having it that date no matter what. I try to select a theme for the speakers. In 2019, I pointed out to the Lieutenant Governor that these projects were able to get started by local support and then small but timely state grants, which then enabled us to then apply for larger federal funds to get the ball rolling. But as you can see, and those of you who have a logo here that has changed since the sign was made or since I got your logo, send it to me because I'm going to have a more permanent sign made. But the theme for today is to continue to build on the momentum of restoring natural systems. That we've seen this momentum increase dramatically. When we started in 2009, there were 2 cranberry bog restorations to learn from. Look how much we've accomplished on this project in town, on the Cape, and throughout the state and country in the past 15 years. This has been a golden age of federal funding that has partnered with state agencies and local municipalities and tribal governments to restore freshwater and saltwater wetlands, allow fish passage, and provide public access to these natural systems. We thank our federal funders, but recognize that the federal government probably will not be providing the level of support that it currently provides. Our speakers will include our elected officials, Dave Vieira and Thomas Moakley, who are critical for state funding, as is Senator Dylan Fernandez, represented by Jack earlier. David Whedon from the tribe will address the fact that his ancestors have lived in harmony with this land for thousands of years. We are all part of nature. He supports restoration, and together we look forward to making these areas become more resilient systems, both ecologically and socially. Acting Director of the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service in the Northeast region, Sharon Marino, will represent the generous federal funding that we have received and projects in this area have received in the past 15 years. She can point out the critical role that U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service and NOAA have played in fish passage, wetland restoration, and public access to date in their fish passage and habitat restoration programs. However, in light of recent changes in national policy towards the environment, we all collectively need to work to keep up the momentum and support state initiatives such as promoting biodiversity. Hopefully more state dollars can be devoted to this. We appreciate that our current state representatives share our passion for improving the environment. Tom O'Shea, recently appointed Commissioner of Fish and Game, will point out the role of the state, in particular Massachusetts DFG, in coordinating projects the last 15 years so successfully that the model has been adopted by some of our more regional NGOs. DER has been the hub to connect local initiatives to funding and the permitting process. It has increased through the years and is now such a successful model that has been adopted by Association to Preserve Cape Cod and the Buzzards Bay Coalition. And that gets us to Andrew Gottlieb of APCC, who will remind us of the, he always tells me that I give him assignments. He's going to remind us of the increasing role NGOs are playing in building resiliency in our coastal systems. The key to continuing to improve our environment is the collaboration between municipal and tribal governments and NGO participation. Coonamessett River Trust, the 300 Committee, regional APCC and the Buzzards Bay Coalition, and state Mass Audubon and Living Observatory. Please take this opportunity to greet old friends and meet new ones, always keeping in mind that we can accomplish amazing things if we all contribute our unique skills. Thank you.
Thank you, Betsy. Please welcome up our State Rep, Dave Vieira.
Just like this project was a partnership, we're going to do this together. My Democratic colleague in the House from Falmouth originally as well, Thomas Moakley.
Thank you. Being new to my role, I get the opportunity to stand at podiums like this and learn about projects like this, which are so collaborative. And all of you who are represented by logos here, remember the success of this project as you move forward and be generous to other worthy projects that are going on in the Falmouth and the Cape Cod community. Betsy said that this is the 6th celebration for the Coonamessett River project. On the 7th day, God rested. On the 7th day, Betsy figured out what her next project was going to be. I also want to recognize the role that my predecessor, Tim Madden, played in the early stages of this project, which goes to show that it's been many, many years with a large umbrella of people working towards it. So together with my friend and colleague, David Vieira, representing the town of Falmouth, I want to present a House citation, which, the Senate represents 40 people, there's 40 senators. Really, the House citation, not only is it bigger, but there's 4 times as many members who agree that the Upper Coonamessett River project deserves special recognition. And so I'm happy to present that here on behalf of the entire House, signed, of course, by the Speaker of the House, Ronald Mariano, Representative David Vieira, and myself. Congratulations on the work that has been done so far. Looking forward to supporting you as the work continues in the future.
So as we got here, I was talking to Steve Hurley about how far up the river has the American eel been. And we've seen, since Dutchman's Ditch was created to connect the Coonamessett Pond to the Coonamessett River, we've seen the eels in the pond. And one of the main reasons I asked that question is I remember years ago fishing at night, bottom fishing for horned pout with my grandfather, Charlie Eastman. Charlie Eastman is the name of the conservation land east of the Childs River, where we had a celebration not too long ago on the project over there, which Betsy and the team behind us here on this list helped those folks work on the Childs River. But I remember catching an eel in the pond. And my family has land over on Crooked Pond, and I'm thinking, did we catch it in Crooked Pond? Because it's landlocked. But clearly we caught that eel on the few nights that we did go to the Coonamessett Pond. And we're fishing there. Usually when I come to these events, I bring either Aldo Leopold or Rachel Carson, right? So I got Rachel again with me today. Under the sea wind, a different quote than we used last time, but it's about this time of year. I woke up this morning, it was cold, clearly fall was in the air. And as I read this passage about this time of year from Under the Sea Wind, I want to dedicate the work that we're doing and that you all are doing to my predecessor, Matthew Patrick. Matt Patrick passed away this summer and was instrumental in beginning the first of the hat trick of these 3 rivers, along with Franny Smith and Trouts Unlimited over in the Quashnet River. And so this one's for you, Matt. Now it was autumn again, and the water was chilling to the cold rains shed off the hard backbones of the hills. A strange restiveness was growing in Anguilla the eel. For the first time in her adult life, the food hunger was forgotten. In its place was a strange new hunger, formless and ill-defined. Its dimly perceived object was a place of warmth and darkness, darker than the blackest night ever over, poetic license, Coonamessett Pond. She had known such a place once, in the dim beginning of life, before memory began. She could not know that the way it lay beyond the pond outlet, over which she had clambered 10 years before. But many times that night, as the wind and the rain tore at the surface of the pond, Anguilla was drawn irresistibly toward the outlet, over which the water was spilling on its journey to the sea. When the cocks were crowing in the farmyard over the hill, saluting the third hour of the new day, Anguilla slipped into the channel, spilling down the stream below, and followed the moving waters. Betsy and the team, thanks for continuing to let the waters move so that Anguilla and her next of kin can make it back to the Sargasso.
Thank you, David. Thank you, Tom. Next, I'd like to bring up David Whedon from the Mashpee Wampanoag.
Kwikwasin, Natusawis, Winata, Inane, Nutamas, Mississippi, Wampanoag. Hello, everyone. My name is David Whedon. I'm part of Mashpee. And thank you. I want to thank everyone for allowing me to speak here today. Thank you for taking times out of your day to come and support the work being done here to protect this precious ecosystem. It's a privilege to stand here before you today, not just as a representative of the Mashpee Wampanoag tribe, but as a fellow steward of this land and its waters. The Upper Quashnett River is more than a geographic feature. It's a living artery that has sustained ecosystems, communities, and cultures for generations. Today, we celebrate not only the restoration of a river, but the restoration of our relationships between people and place, between institutions and shared purposes. The success of this project is rooted in the collaboration. It's a powerful reminder that when municipalities, tribal nations, conservation groups, and volunteers come together around a common goal, we can achieve something far greater than any one entity could alone. This restoration brings intermunicipal benefits that ripple far beyond the banks of the Quashnett, with cleaner waters, healthier fish populations, resilient floodplains, restoration of entire riparian ecosystem, and renewed public access to nature. But perhaps most importantly, it brings a renewed sense of shared responsibility. It shows that ecological restoration is not just a scientific endeavor, it's a civic and cultural one. I want to take a moment to recognize someone who has deeply influenced this project and many others across Cape Cod, Dr. Elizabeth Gladfelter. Her leadership on the Coonamessett River and other projects exemplifies what it means to build bridges between agencies, disciplines, and communities. She understands that successful restoration requires more than removing physical barriers. It requires removing institutional silos, fostering trust, and designing solutions that honor both ecological integrity and human connection. Betsy's approach reminds us that the most enduring projects are those that built on shared values and long-term vision. For the Mashpee Wampanoag people, rivers like the Quashnett are sacred. They are part of our ancestral memory and our living traditions. Restoring this river is not just about fish passage, it's about cultural passage. It's about reconnecting with the lifeways that sustained our people long before colonial boundaries were drawn. The potential return of native brook trout and reestablishing cold water habitats is ecologically healing, and it's also an example of a cultural shift that recognizes the rights of nature. This project would not have been possible without the tireless efforts of many organizations, agencies, and departments and individuals, and the many volunteers who have worked on this river restoration, and all those that recognize its importance. Their shared dedication is a model of grassroots stewardship and how deeply impactful quiet persistence can be. Let us honor their work, not just with applause, but with continued commitment to protect our shared environment. As we celebrate today, let us also look ahead. Let the Upper Quashnet River be a beacon of hope and a reminder that ecological restoration is possible, that collaboration is powerful, and that our shared landscape deserves our shared care. May this river flow freely, not just with water, but with the spirit of hope, resilience, and respect of all life. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Next, let me welcome up our Regional Director for the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, Sharon Marino.
Good morning. Hopefully you can hear me okay. I am so excited to be here, and as I've been looking around at the site, and what really stands out to me is the sign. All of the partners that have been part of this incredible journey, this project, and it's truly, truly just an honor for me to be here to celebrate this with all of you. First, I just want to thank Dr. Betsy Gladfelter and the town of Falmouth for hosting us today. This is incredible. I want to thank you all also for being here to celebrate this conservation story. And it really is an honor to join so many long-standing partners in this celebration and to share the stage with such wonderful leaders and supporters of this project. We're here to celebrate the restoration of this river and wetland system. Once fragmented and degraded by human use, this habitat has been brought back to life with the help from people who depend on this land and these waters. We celebrate the commitment, hard work, and partnerships that made this restoration possible. The restoration of the Coonamessett River is part of a national story of renewal of our nation's rivers. Over the past 25 years, state agencies, tribal nations, local communities, conservation organizations have come together to build momentum in removing and upgrading obsolete infrastructures that block our waterways. These projects restore crucial connections for migratory fish, other wildlife, and restore healthy, free-flowing rivers that can provide the ecosystem services so vital to our communities here and across the country. The Coonamessett River was once home to one of the largest river herring runs in the region, and the area provided abundant natural resources, but centuries of alterations degraded the system. Without access to good habitat, river herring numbers declined. But now, the upper and lower restoration work complete, this river flows freely once again. Numerous aging and unused barriers have been removed. The stream channel has been restored. Natural peat soils of wetlands have been re-exposed, and native vegetation has been reestablished. The river, like so many restored across the country, will now see fish migrating between the ocean and fresh water to reach spawning habitat once again. This river is supporting not only river herring, but also American eel, native brook trout, and many other species of fish and wildlife. The restored river will provide important services to our communities, bolstering the local water supply, mitigating flood risk, and providing opportunities for outdoor recreation. The federal agencies supporting this restoration work have been here since the project began. Both the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service and NOAA provided technical and financial assistance to the multiple phases of the Coonamessett restoration work. I'd like to recognize Kathy Bozick and Jamie Masterson, both from the Fish and Wildlife Service, for their tireless contributions in support of this project, and specifically would like to recognize the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service's National Fish Passage Program that provided funding to support this project. Restoration of these systems is hard work and demands leadership and partnerships. It takes all of us to come together to ensure that these systems are here and healthy into the future. The Fish and Wildlife Service looks forward to working with partners on future restoration projects on Cape Cod and beyond. And again, I just want to say that this is such an impressive list of partners. We can't do it unless we come together and we can make huge differences for the environment now and into the future. Congratulations to all, and I'm truly honored to be joining you all today in this celebration. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sharon. Please welcome up the Commissioner of the Mass Department of Fish and Game, Tom O'Shea.
Thank you, Peter. And I want to echo Betsy and Sharon and the other speakers that it is truly an honor to be here today to celebrate this remarkable achievement. And Betsy may think this is my first time part of a celebration, and it is. But I started 20 years ago with Steve Hurley when I was the Southeast District Manager at Mass Wildlife in 2003. And he was talking about all the sea-run brook trout. And we went out and did shocking surveys to see what fish we had in there. And it was just amazing how rich it was. And to think that 20 years plus later, you know, we made it happen. All of you, and Betsy, you being a champion, we can't do it without you. And so I got to actually tour this site with the Division of Ecological Restoration team this morning. And when you go out there and you look, you say, well, I don't know how many people know, but all those plants out there, those germinated from seeds that were dormant, many of them for decades or even over 100 years. That's outstanding. It's remarkable. And fish like the eel that have been coming up here, as Representative Vieira talked about in that beautiful quote. I mean, nature has this way with our help of transforming itself and coming back in a way that just astounds us. And so the power of restoration, when we all get together and work with nature and help nature, it's amazing. And you think about the need for this in the state. We have an industrial legacy in our state. We have agricultural uses, and the landscape has been worked. It's been used, but we are realizing now that it's so important for us to restore these for all the reasons we talked about. And so I just think it's probably one of the best sites in Massachusetts that I would say that we've seen in restoration. It's outstanding. So anyway, I just want to say that it's really exciting to be here. And I want to likewise recognize all the people who've been involved, the Mashpee Wampanoag tribe and the people of First Light, who have cared for these lands and waters for thousands of years, as you said, and they still chart the way forward today, and it's really great to have their partnership. Representative Vieira and Representative Moakley, great to have your support, and I loved both of your quotes today were excellent, and it's great to have your involvement. Our federal partners, Sharon and the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service and NOAA, thank you. The town of Falmouth, NOAA, the town, these things are all local. All these restoration projects are local. And so if you don't have champions and local involvement, they can't really happen to their fullest fruition. And so just want to recognize the Coonamessett River Trust and the 300 Committee Land Trust, Mass Audubon and others that, get together and make these possible. And it was great to see the BioBlitz sign out there, the 300. Now, you haven't done it since June 2010. I think you're due for another BioBlitz. They're working on it. All right, good. We're glad to help. And of course, countless others who've made this possible. I do want to recognize the talented team at the Department of Fish and Game and our Division of Ecological Resources. We also have Division of Marine Fisheries here and Mass Wildlife. And can you all that are here from the department just raise your hand? Everybody give a round of applause. I have one of the best jobs in state government. I love it, and I have incredible staff and such great people to work with and that care so passionately and bring so much expertise to these projects. But particularly, I want to also point out and recognize Division of Ecological Restoration, Beth Lambert. Beth? Where is Beth? Oh, there she is. Okay, great. Well, Beth and the DER team really have been the drivers behind this impressive River Restoration Project in terms of supporting through technical assistance, funding, and really their partnership is really, this is what they do. And it's just great to see their commitment and the success with all of you. And DER, I think, has provided over $300,000 in funding, which is great, and many, many hours and dollars towards the broader effort. And so just want to thank the DER team and all of you. I also want to point out, this is an important moment, that just 3 weeks ago, I was on the Cape with some of the folks here that are out here today. And we were, and I should take my sunglasses off, but let me just say that we were out here 3 weeks ago with the governor, Governor Maura Healey, and we had 250 partners, and we announced the biodiversity goals for Massachusetts, which are nation-leading biodiversity goals. And this, to me, is just a great example of the kind of work that we want to invest in and accelerate if we're going to meet these biodiversity goals for 2030 and 2050. For instance, we're setting ambitious targets to restore 30% of our most important habitats by 2030 and 75% of our most important habitats by 2050. And we want to remove over 10% of our dams and upgrade 10% of our culverts by 2050. And for context, 10% of our dams is about 300 dams. So we've got to double the pace of that work. And restoring fish passage is another goal in all of our coastal watersheds. So this is just really a great example and exemplifies that. So a couple other things I just want to mention that, everybody before me has really talked a lot about the sort of, all of us coming together. But I also want to talk about sort of what you'd call your nature lovers, or people that enjoy it and aren't in this professionally. And I don't know, is there any people here that just came out as part of they're great. It's so great to have people who are just interested in what's happening in their community. And one of the things that we want to make sure of is that with the biodiversity goals and the Department of Fish and Game, that we're connecting people to nature. And it's really great you've connected and partnered with local schools. I think the Upper Cape Tech is here as well. And it's so great to have our schools and our young people engaged in restoration. It is part of what we want to do in creating a workforce around restoration in the future and a career pathway, which I know the Upper Cape Tech School is doing. So all of these things are really about connections. And I want to part with that thinking is that what you've done here is connected us to the past. You've connected the fish and all of the plants that used to be here together. It's connections. And it's really, and we're all connected here today. So it's meaningful, hopeful work. And we should all feel really proud about it. And I'm looking forward to the next celebration. I don't know when that's going to be, Betsy. But really, this isn't just for us. We know this is for generations to come. This is for everybody in the future as well that aren't here yet enjoying it. And really, congratulations to all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Next, let's welcome up the Executive Director of the APCC, the Association to Preserve Cape Cod, Mr. Andrew Gottlieb.
So Betsy's right. She does tell me what to do. And actually, as of Sunday, she's now on my board. So as one of my bosses, she actually does get to tell me what to do. So she asked me to come today and talk a little bit about sort of the nonprofit NGO sector in today's world. And as a preface to that, the sign is sort of indicative of a couple of things. One is nothing good happens by accident. Takes a lot of work and a lot of perseverance and a lot of vision to conceive of and actually pull off a project of this sort. And the other element of it is that while we're all necessary, by ourselves, none of us is sufficient to get anything like this done. That strength of partnership shaped this long-term project on the run of this river, has spawned other projects of a like and similar nature throughout the Commonwealth and elsewhere on the Cape. And it puts us in a position to, I think, adapt to be honest, a very rapidly changing landscape in our partnering world. There are changes in federal policy that are altering the framework in which we all operate as nonprofits, as state officials, as town representatives, and as just residents who want to see improvement. And frankly, we have a choice. We can sit around, wring our hands and gnash our teeth and feel bad about it and say, well, that's the end of these types of projects. Or we can adapt. And we can adapt to address the changes that we're seeing at the federal level by taking advantage of groundbreaking initiatives like Tom championed with the biodiversity initiative under Governor Healy's leadership. You know, that creates a framework at the state level that we can all interact with. It's different. We still have staff that we're accustomed to working with at federal agencies. They're still there. The nature of the relationship might change a little bit, but we can adapt to it and continue to draw on expertise. As a nonprofit entity, you know, look at what we're doing and how we're thinking about our work. We've added 4 new board members in the last 12 months, roughly. 2 of them, Betsy and Steve Hurley. We're doubling down, and that's indicative of the fact that we're doubling down and investing in our roots and our willingness to speak to these issues, to look for funding, and to continue to develop staff expertise that makes up for what is now a change in federal, might be short-term, might be long-term, I don't know. But we don't do ourselves any service by quitting. And I think from a nonprofit point of view, from a community point of view, one of the prior speakers said, all these projects are local. And so what's happening at the federal level, what's happening even at the state level, doesn't change how people feel and what they value in Falmouth, Mashpee, and any of our adjoining communities. And so collectively, I think we all need to take the inspiration that comes from this project and what was accomplished here, recognize that we're working in a different world, and continue to pursue our own collective interests on natural resources restoration without hesitancy, without apology, and without any fear that the work we're doing is somehow not in the broader public interest, because we know that when we restore a river like this, we improve elements of the natural world that have value to and unto themselves. And we also benefit ourselves because we've enhanced flood retention. We've enhanced our ability to withstand storms. We've maintained the species that we rely on for the fundamentals of our economic well-being, for our food, for our farming. It all makes sense. And so I would encourage everybody to sort of take a minute. It never hurts to celebrate success. Success is hard. You have a success behind us here. Celebrate that success and go back and use it as a rejuvenating force to work with the people, whether it's 300 Committee and Joanne, Audubon, our other partners here, to figure out what the next 5, 6, 10 of these projects is going to be. And let's get after it, because we can do these things. Thank you for letting me participate.
Thank you, Andrew. So I want to thank all the presenters and all the present people that come in and had some speeches and presentations today. We're coming towards the end of our dedication, but I'd like to bring back up Betsy for some closing remarks. No. She says, I thought you were going to forget me real quietly. Who can forget Betsy?
Okay, I just want to quickly give you a few highlights of this project, and then I want to tell you something special that you'll get to observe when you go out there. So we've removed 7 barriers to fish passage, restored 18.5 acres of wetland. This lush vegetation has only been growing a few months. It was entirely mud and ponds before that. We constructed a 6/10 of a mile all accessible loop with 3 wetland crossings. And one of the things that I felt was important in this project right from the beginning, that it should be all ages and all abilities should be able to get out in nature. So what have we done? In honor of Steve Hurley, Our native brook trout population has been wildly successful and reestablished. We've had citizen herring counts since 2004. MIT Sea Grant and the Woodwell Climate Center had a had a project with the state-of-the-art video monitoring developing. Our run this year was 39,000. I can't really compare it with anything else because DMF, and I'm going to talk to Brad, DMF has a strange way of calculating the run, and they're coming up with a figure. They used to come up with figures like between 30 and 60,000. Now they're coming up with a figure that's less than the actual number of fish people counted. So there's a little correction there, and I'll pursue that. Okay, as was mentioned, Coonamessett River Trust has partnered with the Falmouth Public Schools so that they have 2 units, a unit on natural history in the fall for 4th graders, and then those same students come back and do experiments on water quality in 5th grade. The 300 committee has nature walks, including full moon walks and cloud walks, so follow their website. The Living Observatory has started an Atlantic white cedar study. You'll see some white cedar out here tagged and are following that. We have 4 new interpretive signs highlighting Wampanoag culture, including some words in Wampanoag with support from the Falmouth Cultural Council. And we're in the initial phases, although Jessica and I have been talking about this for 2 years, of exploring a correct cultural respect easement. With the town would be with the Mashpee Wampanoag time. Okay, here's the special treat for you. Many of you here have been on lots of these sites and kind of know the lingo and know how things work. And so when I first wrote a grant for this, I referred to this as the Upper Coonamessett Wetland Complex, because I think David mentioned talking about, or someone else mentioned talking about Dutchman's Ditch, which I didn't know what Dutchman's Ditch was when we started. But Dutchman's Ditch is the upper part of all these spring sapping valleys. And when it's dry, the upper part of the river just has a series of wetlands. And it probably, the Wampanoags connected them to get the fish up there, but certainly in the 1700s, the mill owners connected them to collect water for their mills. So because we are just finishing this project, you're going to see areas that look like clumps of dirt that don't have any vegetation on them. Those are pits and mounds in their first stage. When it rains, vegetation will just pop up from that. You're all probably aware of the fact that the Cape is in a level 2 drought right now. But, so the upper part of the river, you go to look at it, looks like a little tiny trickle. You can't imagine a fish. An eel might be able to go on that wet soil, but that a herring or a trout would make it. But if you walk down about a quarter mile down the second bridge, you're going to see the Broad River, which is the upper part of the Broad River has a large area of upwelling, and the river from then on looks like a normal river. Not like a friend of mine said, you don't really work on a river. He said, that's not a river. He said, I grew up by the Mississippi. And I said, this is really a river. So I'd like you, oh, actually, forgot this part. So I'd like to ask Andrew and Beth to come up to cut the ribbon. And it's to honor, it's to honor hubs of these research. I think Beth has done a good job since we've been working together to build her program and really do all this outreach so successfully that APCC now does the same thing, and so does Buzzards Bay Coalition. So after the ribbons cutting, everybody's welcome to something to drink. I know I'm thirsty at this point. Donuts, and Peter brought lots of other treats also. And then please take a tour. And I think Nick Nelson from Interfluve, you're here. You see Nick, he's the tallest one around. And some of his team are also here. And Sumco is here. They'd be happy to answer, Travis and Steve, they'd be happy to answer any questions you have as you go around.
Give them to Beth. I'm not allowed to play with sharps.
I wanted to see how that would work.
Ladies and gentlemen, as Betsy said, please stick around, have a bite to eat, a snack, and a drink, and have some conversation with your colleagues. We have our signature donuts over here. They've been with all the past Coonamessett gatherings. So our apple cider donuts from Jack and the Beanstalk. So, folks, thank you all for coming today. Really appreciate it. It's nice to get a group together. And this is the show what folks can do when they put their minds together and their ideas together to be able to bring projects forward. So thank you very much for coming, and enjoy the rest of the day. Thank you. Oh, Betsy has one more comment.
I just want to thank Peter, who takes all the stress, or most of the stress, off a meeting like this, and to show you the continuity in the town from working from it from 15 years ago to now. It's very special. We have a special town group.
Got a nice paved path, not paved, but